Legends, welcome back to Coins Age Media. We're doing another little review on He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. This episode is called The Curse of the SPELLSTONE, and I think for these episodes I'll give you the synopsis off the DVD cover as well. For this episode it says Skeletor and Evil-Lyn place the planet of Eternia in peril by causing chaos with the magical SPELLSTONE. With it, they unleash the secret weapon on the royal palace and trap the royal family, leaving He-Man on a dangerous mission to rescue his friends before they are completely consumed. Now, that description is a bit vague on it. Basically, in this episode, the SPELLSTONE, Skeletor steals it at the beginning. Back at the palace, Man-at-Arms is showing the king one of his new inventions, which is a weather satellite that'll control the elements and, turn bad weather into good weather. And when he's demonstrating this, the clouds begin to clear, but then a crazy storm kicks off, and it's caused by Skeletor and Evil-Lyn with the SPELLSTONE. Using it to cause a lot of destruction on the surrounding villages outside the palace, and people's homes have been burned to the ground. Evil-Lyn uses her powers to disguise herself as an old woman, and her idea is, words can cause more destruction than this storm. So she pretty much goes into the villages and starts to try and turn the people against the king and the queen to revolt against them. Realising that SPELLSTONE is causing all the damage, He-Man goes on the mission to try and find the SPELLSTONE to the, where the SPELLSTONE is kept, and its temple. And him, Stratos, Ram Man, and of course Battle Cat, off they go. On their way there, they get attacked by a huge fire beast, and it comes out of a fiery lake and attacks them. And the SPELLSTONE is in the region of the fire people, and He-Man manages to escape from this fire demon beast thing by using an electrical blast from the tracks that they're in, and they eventually get to the temple where the SPELLSTONE's at, but it's gone. Skeletor has it. There's a bit of a confrontation between Skeletor, He-Man, and Skeletor's robots, and Skeletor manages to get the upper hand on He-Man by showing him a vision of what's happening back at the palace, which is Evil-Lyn has managed to turn the people against the king, and finds out that there's an ancient way of dealing with traitors, and that's called the Creeping Horac, and one of the villagers has given it to her, and she's unleashed it in the palace. Think of the movie The Blob. That's pretty much what this thing is. It's just like a mound of a blob, essentially, that'll consume the entire palace, and it was used against traitors and thieves, and back in the olden days where they were locked in their houses with this thing, and it would just consume the entire place until all the air was squeezed out of it eventually. So the entire episode, the king, the queen, Man-at-Arms, Teela, Orko are all been chased through the castle by this thing while it's just filling the whole place up. When He-Man, Stratos, Ram Man, and Battle Cat try to return, Skeletor, as I did say, gets the upper hand on them and drops them through a trapdoor into a cavern where they're trapped at, and he's turned on like a flood of water, and they manage to stop that by breaking a hole in the ground. They find a part of the cavern and caves where there's a hollow ground. He-Man breaks through it, saves themselves from the water, and they're like, how are we going to get out of here now? And magically the wall opens up and there's a staircase leading out, but it leads directly into the tribe of the fire people. Now these guys don't like strangers, and they're not at all pleased with He-Man and the gang, because they just assume that He-Man and these bunch of clowns are the ones that stole the Spellstone. But He-Man can't convince them that they're innocent and they're actually friends, and the king of the fire people, Helios, he wants to hear nothing about it. He just wants to attack, fight them. And during this, He-Man and everybody, they're defending themselves, but they're not fighting back. It's not the way they do things. And during the fight, the giant fire demon from earlier on in the episode makes another appearance, attacks, grabs hold of Helios, the Fire King, and lifts him up, and he's just about to eat him when He-Man lifts a giant boulder, launches it into the sky, and it gets caught in the monster's mouth. The monster drops the king, clears off, and He-Man catches him, and the king is like, you wouldn't have saved me if you're evil, so go in peace, and I hope you find the Spellstone. So He-Man and the gang eventually get back to the palace, and Skeletor is there with Evil-Lyn, and the crowd have begun to realise that Skeletor and Evil-Lyn has played everyone. It's like, you turned us against the king, you fooled us, sort of thing. So when He-Man and all the heroes arrived for the final confrontation with Skeletor and Evil-Lyn, and Trapjaw's wandering about in the background, but he's got nothing to do in this episode really whatsoever. When He-Man tries to attack to get the Spellstone back, Evil-Lyn turns its full power on the heroes, creates a hurricane, and they're all sucked off the ground and they're getting tossed about in the sky. And He-Man's trying to get Stratos to try and fly down, try and grab the Spellstone, and he's trying his best, but he can't. They're in the jaws of defeat at this point, essentially. At this stage, one of the old men from the village attacks Evil-Lyn and wrestles the stone off her, and breaks her power on it, and He-Man and the heroes get saved from this tornado. And He-Man is like, you know what, a true hero doesn't need superpowers, you just need to believe in yourself, sort of thing. It's just that lovely little just letting the kids know. And even me as a grown man enjoying this series again, it's a nice little ad in there, and so well written in this episode that you didn't even see it coming. Normally you'll have these things figured out in a lot of shows, not the case in this episode. Completely got me by surprise. The last thing I was thinking, that the villagers would be the ones to turn around and beat Skeletor at this stage. So even though they're defeated at this stage, the Creeping Horac is still consuming the palace. The king and the queen, Tila, Man-at-Arms, Orko, they're just about to get destroyed by this thing. And Skeletor and all his evil nastiness is like, we may be beaten here, but they're not going to be able to do much about the Spellstone. So he uses his magic to send the Spellstone back to the land of the fire people, and it shoots up off the ground and just rips off like a torpedo, and He-Man has to run after it, and he's like sprinting. And this is the point in the episode where he shows a new ability that he has as the strongest man in the universe, and he manages to sprint this thing down. He grabs hold of the Spellstone and he turns and he launches it, throws it at the palace. It hits the Creeping Horac and everything disappears. Skeletor is defeated, the plans are ruined, the Creeping Horac is gone, the king and the queen is safe, and, you know, that's basically the end of the episode. And, you know, Skeletor makes his escape, and it's the usual 80s cartoon sort of thing where I'll get you next time, and the villains disappear. So, at the end of the episode, it's, you know, you get your usual happy little endings, and these Orko's doing a little bit more magic. They're talking about the good weather outside, and you know, we're glad these storms is gone. The only thing missing now is a rainbow. And Orko's like, well, I can make that happen. So he cast a little spell to try and make a rainbow, and it backfires on him, and just this little tiny rain cloud appears above his head and just starts raining on top of him and no one else, and we all laugh, and the episode finishes. But the bit we are all waiting on, He-Man fans, with the end of the episode, you get your little public service announcement, and this one man-at-arms is the guy that delivers it, and he talks about Orko and his magic tricks, and a lot of the times they don't go his road, you know, they always blow up in his face and go wrong, and practical jokes can be a lot like that. This is what this one's about. It's about practical jokes, and you know, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt, loses an eye, and you know, loses a finger or something, and you wouldn't like it if someone played a practical joke on you, sort of a thing. So he's like, until next time, we'll see you later. And you know, probably not one of the better PSAs at the end of it, because it's like, yeah, I love my practical jokes, but I'm always very careful and the ones I go for, and that probably has a lot to do with this show and shows similar to that there from the 80s, because you know, they did, and I have said it in the He-Man reviews before, they did really teach my generation a heck of a lot of morals, and it's, you know, I would love to see this show in particular having a resurgence in this generation coming up, and that may happen. As we do know, Kevin Smith, the legend, is the showrunner for He-Man and Revelation. Gosh, the name left me completely there for a second. He-Man, Masters of the Universe, Revelation. Updating that. At the last time I checked in on what was happening, at least the first 4 to 5 episodes are written, cleared, and they're with the animation house now. So the series is coming along, so I'm going to be looking forward to that in there. And as soon as that hits Netflix, I'm going to be binging that and talking a lot of nonsense about it on the show as often as I can. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please hit that subscription button and don't forget to press that bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Please get into the description box below this video and check out my social media links down there and check out all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video.